Hello everyone, welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. I hope you all are having a very good day. In today's video, we'll be focusing upon prelims, which is approaching and is very near. Alright, so what we have been observing, 2 to 3 questions every year have been asked from these three topics. The terms in the constitution, the classification of the terms in the constitution. Alright, second thing is important report list for prelims. So always you can see one question that this report is released by. Alright, or what data is mentioned in this report. Alright, so oftentimes you will just see the name of the organization which releases the report in one of the statements, and the UPSC will ask that how many statements are correct. And last is the schedules of the constitution. So many students post a query that it's very hard to remember the schedule, so I'll just tell an easy way and a commonly accepted way at the end. So this we'll see. Okay, so let's begin with the terms of the constitution. So we know that there are three types of terms. Alright, there are three types of possibilities for a term. So finally, term means a word. Alright, and we are talking about constitution. So when we say constitution, it is essentially a book. So what relation can be established between a word and a book? That it can either be present or absent from the book. Alright, and if present, it is defined or undefined. And if it's absent at all, then there is no question of it being defined or undefined. Alright, so only three possibilities: that present, that means mentioned as well as defined, mentioned but not defined, and not mentioned at all in the constitution. Alright, so let's talk about all these things. First of all, we'll deal with the category which are not mentioned in the constitution. Alright, so I'll put them in the yellow so that you can differentiate. So the category we are talking about is not mentioned. Okay, I'll write it here for students who read the PDF more often. Okay, so some of the terms which are not mentioned in the constitution but used in general parlance or general practice. Okay, so these are their origin is not in the constitution. So first, very important is judicial review. Judicial review. This is not present in the constitution. Alright, second is caretaker government. So these are the important ones. Alright, there can be umpteen terms which are not present in the constitution. We can just make any term and it's not present in the constitution. But what we can say is the important terms that have been in news. So caretaker government. So this was in news but is not in the constitution. Alright. Third and very important term is budget. Budget term cannot be seen in the constitution. Alright. Talking about fourth, it is whip. Whip has two categories. It is neither mentioned in the constitution, first of all, nor defined in the rules of the house. It's also not present in the rules of the house. Okay, let's talk about the fifth one. Fifth one, very important, again, 0 hour. 0 hour. Okay, so it is an Indian innovation. It is an Indian innovation. The 0 hour is not present in the constitution. Second is much talked about and very important. I'll just write it in different pen. Basic structure. Recently we had a long lecture on basic structure. Alright, and the development of the basic structure. So it is also not present. So where did we talk about the basic structure? We talked in the when we were talking about the Congress Party and wealth redistribution. So we talked about the DPSP. We talked about the balance between the DPSP fundamental duties as well as fundamental rights. So we saw that it was all based on the basic doctrine. Alright, but this basic doctrine is not mentioned in the constitution. Alright, next one is federation. I'll just a second. I'll keep it upside. Okay, so federation. So federation is again not mentioned in the constitution. Some other terms we see. All right, leader of the house, or leader of the opposition also. These are also not present in the constitution. All right, so there is no question of them being defined because they are not present in the first place. All right, let's now talk about the second category, which is mentioned, but not defined. Okay, so mentioned, yes. Defined, no. All right. So let's talk about these. The first one we see very common is untouchability. Can you tell me which article abolishes untouchability? Is it Article 17? All right. Second is minority. Minority much in news, but mentioned in constitution, yes, but not defined. All right. Third is martial law and domicile. So not very important. We must take care of the untouchability as well as minority though. Okay, one more thing, that violation of the constitution. Violation of the constitution. So this is mentioned in the constitution, but not defined. That what will actually mean the violation of the constitution. All right. One is office of profit. Office of profit. Okay, this is mentioned, but again, not defined. And one very broad term, that is reasonable. This is present in many parts of the constitution. All right, many provisions of the constitution, and even the fundamental right, it is present, but it is not defined that what is the meaning of reasonable. Okay, reasonable restriction, what constitutes the reasonableness? So again, reasonableness depends on the basic doctrine. Okay, so interpretation is what matters. All right, lastly, we see two, three important terms. Public interest. Two more terms which are not defined, very important again. Socialist. All right, and secular. So they are very clearly mentioned in the constitution, the preamble itself, but not defined. Okay, please take care of this. And lastly, there is welfare state. Welfare state. So this is also not defined. Some other small terms we will see very quickly. Okay, some other terms are OBC, mentioned but not defined. Then we see the caste or tribe, mentioned but not defined. All right, we see the public order, martial law. Okay, and one is the contempt of the court. Contempt of court. So this is again present but not defined. So all the terms which I have mentioned here in this page, so these are mentioned but not defined. So now we occur to the third category. Third category is of course very broad, which is mentioned as well as defined. Okay, so what we can do is to make a Venn diagram here. So let's take these three categories. Let's take, these are all the terms in the constitution. All right, this is a circle which we can say A. All right, so A is basically all the terms. So all the terms are, of course, this will have the mentioned terms. And this will have two categories in the circle. One is that this category, B. So B means mentioned and defined. Okay, and this will be the C category. C category will be mentioned, yes, okay, but not defined. And there will be another circle which does not come in the category of the mentioned categories. So let's call it the circle D. Okay, D will be our not mentioned. Okay, so if we eliminate a few things, just a second. All right, so if we eliminate a few things, these, let's say we eliminate the C, which we have already read, those are mentioned but not defined. and we eliminate the D, which are not mentioned at all, then we'll be left with B, that means mentioned and defined. So only we have to read about the C and D, which we have already read. So we'll just eliminate. Okay, so no need to read that which categories are mentioned as well as defined. Just remember which categories are not mentioned or mentioned but not defined. Alright, so if you eliminate these, you will be left with all the categories which are mentioned as well as defined. So just take care of what is not mentioned or not defined. Mentioned but not defined. Alright, so we have seen here already. Just a second. Okay, so mentioned and not defined, these you can see here, and mentioned, sorry, not mentioned, you can see here. Alright, so just remember these two, third you will automatically see. Okay, now let's quickly come to our second topic, and I'll try to make it in a mind map format. But you can also develop your own method. Okay, so first of all, we come to the organization name. Okay, or we'll just come to the report actually. Okay, so let's talk the global. The keyword is global. Okay, and we'll do organization by organization so that we do not confuse, because let's say the global competitive index. Competitive index. And if we take the second report, which is global environmental outlook. Okay, if we take the third report, that is global gender gap report. So these are released by various different organizations, such as this global competitive index. This is released by the World Economic Forum. Okay, if we take at the global environment outlook, it is released by the UNEP. If we take at the global gender gap report, it is also released by the World Economic Forum. So it will be confusing for you if you remember this keyword and then go to report and then remember the organization, because these will keep changing despite sounding rather similar, despite having the same keyword. So what happens? Keywords remain the same. Keywords remain very regular, such as the global, gap, development, or let's say other keywords are outlook and so on. Okay, outlook, report, and so on. So what we will instead do, go organization by organizations. All right. So let's first deal with the first organization, that is UNEP. Okay, United Nations Environmental Program. So UNEP. So please remember all the reports, all the important reports that are released by UNEP, and this is essential for prelims. Okay. So first one is the global. This is the keyword global, and then we'll see what type of the global report, environmental outlook. Global environmental outlook, and it's also known as the geo report. Okay, then there is the second keyword, gap. So two type of gap reports have been released. One is the emission gap report, and one is the adaptation gap report. All right, so these are by the UNEP. Okay, please remember. Second, let's come to the second page. We'll manage space later if needed. Okay, World Economic Forum. World Economic Forum, WEF. Okay, so let's take the keyword again, that is global. So how many types of global reports released by this, which are important? Okay, three. First is global competitive index. Competitive index. Next one is gender gap report. Gender gap. So here you can see the second keyword also, gap also. Okay, global information technology report, or IT report. This is third one. All right, let's take another keyword, that is human. So human capital report. Human capital report. All right, and the global, finally, which type of global? Risk report. Global risk report. So what we see, a risk and competitive index, as well as the gender gap and IT report. These are all the with the global keyword. And lastly one, human capital report. Okay, so these are all by the WEF. Lastly, we see on the third number, we see different organization, that is the UNFCCC. All right, United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, UNFCCC. Okay, which report? Very important report, National Communication Report. national communication report. Okay, very important. All right, let's move to the next one. After UNFCCC, we come to the very important World Bank. Okay, so let's talk about the World Bank report. Which keyword here? World. Again, first, let's say global keyword. Okay, so global, which report it has released? Economic prospects. So it's not by WEF, okay? World Economic Forum. It's not this. ये नहीं है ना? All right, so it's global world economic prospects. Please remember. Okay, next keyword is world. Okay, so World Development Report. World Development Report. All right, next is business. Business. So which report? Doing business report. Doing business report. Okay, next one is global again. So global shield financing facility. And this one is very important for this year. Shield financing. What is the shield financing facility? All right. Lastly, we see the women business and law report. So again, business. So women business plus law report. So again, very important. All right. So 3 keywords we have with the World Bank. Again, global is being used again and again. See, 4 reports with global here. 3 reports with global here. Okay, so very important. So please do not get confused, especially in the World Bank and the World Economic Forum. Okay, next let's come to the 5th one. That is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is very famous, our UNESCO. So which report is released by UNESCO? 3 important reports. Again, global is the keyword. Okay, so global education monitoring. Global education monitoring report. Okay, next we see the world. Keyword again, world. Okay, so world water development report. All right, next keyword we see education again. All right, education again. So see, with education we'll come to this report. Third is education for all global monitoring report. Okay, education for all global monitoring report. So this is very simple, this one. All right, it deals with basically education and water development report for this year. These ones are important. All right, next let's see the International Energy Agency. International Energy Agency. Let us see it on the next page. Okay, because few reports are released with by International Energy Agency. That is IEA. Okay, we can read about all these agencies later on also. So again, let's take the important global keyword here. Okay, so global methane tracker, methane CH4 tracker, very important. All right, next one is global energy review. Energy review. So such easy ones may not be asked. Okay, next is world. Again, the keyword is world. So which report with world? Energy outlook. So energy we can find common here. All right, energy outlook. Then again we see the energy. Okay, next report again with the name of energy, energy technology perspectives. Energy technology perspectives. Okay, next one we see again energy. So secure energy transition report. Secure energy transition report. Okay, so this is combined with the electric grid as well as secure energy transition report. Okay, next one is the net zero roadmap report. Which one? Net zero roadmap report. So this is in line or in coherence with this CH4 tracker report. Okay, global methane tracker. So this is very important for us. Okay, last one is the breakthrough agenda report. This is very important. Okay, breakthrough agenda report. Okay, now let's go to the simple ones again. that is World Meteorological Organization, WMO. Okay, meteorology means things related to weather. Okay, so it releases three reports, three important reports. That is state of the climate report. State of the climate. So climate you can find related to weather. Okay, long-term observation of weather is known as the climate of a, let's say, any geography. Then we see the greenhouse gas bulletin. Greenhouse gas bulletin. All right, and next one is annual statement on the state of climate. Again, annual statement. So two reports only, which we have to remember: greenhouse gas bulletin as well as the state of the climate and annual statement on the state of climate. Okay, so we are near to end of this. Very simple ones are remaining now. One is green watch. So let's do this one in green so that we can remember. Just a second. All right. So green watch, which one we see? Climate change performance index. Climate change, and we see the performance index here. Performance index. So whenever something is releasing an index, not a report, all right, then it most likely an NGO or something, okay, or international intergovernmental organization. So this is green watch. Okay, it's releasing an index. Okay, not a report. Okay, next one is we see on the green watch global climate risk index. Global climate risk index, again index. All right, so very important both of these. Next, let's talk about the ninth one, that is the UN agency. Which agency? Sustainable Development, that is SDG, you can remember. All right, Solutions Network. Solutions Network. So this releases the World Happiness Index. World Happiness Index report. All right. Next one we see very important, Transparency International. Transparency International. So which report released by this? It's basically about the corruption. Okay. So corruption, whenever you see the world corruption, it may not come in the exam. All right. So Corruption Perception Index. Next one is Corruption Barometer. Next one is Bribe Payers Index. So India must be very high in this. All right. The last ones we see. The next one we see is UNCTD. All right. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. So naturally, UNCTD. So Trade and Development. So which reports? Trade and Development Report. We can call it TD report. Okay, next one is Least Developed Countries Report. So again, related to development. Least Developed Countries Report. Okay, and one is the World Investment Report. World Investment Report. So this is important. All right, next one, let's see, IPCC. Okay, much asked in the past. IPCC, International Panel on Climate Change. Sorry, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So IPCC, which report? Assessment reports. Third, fourth assessment report, much in news. It talks about the global warming and so. One is special reports and synthesis reports. So these will not be asked mostly, but assessment reports must remember. All right, next one, let's talk about the. So we see the Wildlife Institute of India. It releases the State of India's Bird Report. Not very important. All right, India's birds. So who will release? Wildlife Institute of India, WII. All right. So very simple. We don't need to know. What we need to know is the next one, that is UNDP. UNDP is often asked, as well as two important, UNDP plus second one is IMF, International Monetary Fund. Okay, so let's see both of these. It released the Human Development report. Human development report. Very important. Then gender inequality index. Inequality index. Next one is multidimensional poverty index. Multidimensional poverty index. And lastly, it releases the human development index. Human development index. So very, very important. All the reports of UNDP are very important. They relate to the human development and gender inequality, etc. So very important. Please take care of these. These are 5-star. All right. Let's talk about the IMF. So World Economic Outlook. This is not from International Monetary Fund. Sorry, the WEF. So please do not confuse between WEF and IMF. All right. So we see the reports from IMF. Let's talk about the World Economic Outlook. World Economic Outlook. Then there is Global Financial Stability Report. This one is very important. Please note this down. Okay, Global Financial Stability Report. And then there is Fiscal Monitor, which is not important. All right, so the last important in the list, again, very important, no need to mention. All right, International Labour Organization, ILO. ILO, which ones are ILO? World Employment and Social Outlook. World, the keyword here is World Employment, as well as the Social Outlook. Okay, very important. Then we see the keyword again is global. So what in the global? Wage report. Global wage report. Report I'll not mention. Okay, then again world social protection report. World social protection report. Next one is World of the Work report. World of the Work report. Okay. Let's talk about the next one. Only 3 are remaining. Don't worry at all. We are not going to stretch it a lot. So Worldwide Fund for Nature. Worldwide Fund for Nature. Okay. Or WWF. What it release? Living Planet report. Living Planet. Very important. Please remember this also. Okay. Next one is the Global Hunger Index. It released by the Concerned Worldwide. Global Hunger Index. It released by the Concerned Worldwide. Okay. And Well Hunger Life. That is WALTH, Wealth Hunger Life. All right. Last one is the Global Food Policy Report. It is released by the International Food Policy Research Institute. So food policy, it won't come because it's just simply matching common sense will tell you the answer. All right. Lastly, let's see that how to remember the schedules of the Constitution. Okay, so there are 12 schedules in the Constitution. Let's just do the trick. It is the, what is the code? Tiers of Old PM or Prime Minister. All right, so let's see one by one. First schedule deals with the territories of India. All right, it has multiple articles and further subdivisions. Second deals with the emoluments. That means how much money is coming and going and where it is being spent on. All right, third is the affirmation and oath. Affirmations and oath. Okay, this is the third schedule. Fourth schedule talks about the allocation of seat of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, it deals with the Rajya Sabha. Then lastly we see the S. S means fifth schedule. Fifth schedule mean scheduled areas. Okay, and we see the sixth schedule also. This include the PESA and all. Okay, so it includes the other areas. Other tribal areas not included in the fifth schedule. But still the tribal areas. Okay, and next we come to the F. F means federal. So we'll deal it with here. Of old. Okay, so F means here federal. Okay, so federal structure, it has 3 lists. So this is our 7th schedule. 8th schedule is very, very famous. Alright, it is about the official languages. Official languages. Okay, 9th and 11th and 12th are very famous again, but we'll just deal with the L and D for now, that is land reform and anti-defection. Land reforms. And 10th is very famous, anti-defection. Okay, question keeps on coming from here. Okay, old, and lastly 2 more are left, that is P and M. P means Panchayati Raj, the 11th one, and 12th is municipalities. So this is our 12th one. So these are the 12 schedules of the constitution. I hope it will be rather easier for you to remember these now. Okay, for the prelims. So we dealt with 3 things: the terms, the reports, important reports, and lastly the schedules. Okay, so we'll keep dealing with such small topics in upcoming lectures also. This is Yatharth. If you have any feedback, kindly let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much for your presence. I'll see you in the next lecture. Have a great day. See you soon.